go.
There's a call for a God, I see it everywhere. Everybody's running scared, and everything is turning upside down. But the words I hear, they keep coming through from deep inside of me and you. It's telling us that love is who I am. You and me, we're not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start.
Welcome to A Course of Love.
Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one.
Welcome to A Course of Love, mighty companion.
We are one.
Welcome to A Course of Love. Welcome to A Course of Love.
Now let's come together and understand that Christ was born inside of every man. He's waiting for us to choose him as ourselves. If you choose him, you know you choose me too. And everyone becomes a part of you. And then you know that love is who I am.
I hear you, Holy Spirit. Yeah.
You and me, we're not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, can you hear it?
Can you hear it?
Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one.
We are one, mighty companion.
Yeah, we are one.
I can feel it. Can you feel it?
Oh, we are one.
Can you feel the connection? Welcome to A Course of Love. This is Earl Purdy here on Facebook Live, welcoming you to A Course of Love. Remember, you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it. Some of it's going to be hard to believe, and some of it's going to be quite startling. But if you use it, if you use the ideas, you will see that they are true. If you use it, you will see that the ideas are true.
You and me, we're not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start.
Oh yeah.
Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one.
You and I are one.
Oh, we are one.
You and I are one.
Yeah, we are one.
You and I are one.
Oh, we are one.
You and I are one.
I am you.
I am you.
And you are me.
And you are me. All right. right. Ah, mighty companion, welcome to A Course of Love. Welcome to A Course of Love. Welcome to A Course of Love. I'm Earl Purdy, and we're going to be doing the Course of Love. And the Course of Love is about the heart. It's about going deep into the heart. It's about going into your feeling nature, going into your heart. There are lots of mighty companions online with us right now, but it's you and me. Take a breath. Don't forget to comment and like and share the video. The advantage of us doing it live is that we get a chance to interact with each other, knowing that this is happening in real time right now. In a course of love, and I can see your comments and your comments to each other. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. That's right. Hello, soul family. So listen very carefully. We're going to be in chapter 4 in A Course of Love. This section is called The Center of the Universe. The Center of the Universe. The Center of the Universe. It's chapter 4 in A Course of Love. It's on page 212. We're going to be on page 212 in A Course of Love, chapter 4, The Center of the Universe. Chapter 4, The Center of the Universe in A Course of Love. So I'm going to read through the paragraph. We're going to go through the paragraph, and we're going to see what message that the universe, what message that Spirit has for us. Be on the lookout for your special message this evening. Be on the lookout for the message that is especially for you, that's coming from your higher, greater self. That's what you want to do. You ready? All right, here we go. It starts out by saying, by asking you to request a miracle. By asking you to request a miracle, I'm honoring who you are and inviting you into the state of mind that is miracle readiness. So what invites you into the state of mind that's miracle readiness, Earl? By asking you to request a miracle. So I'd like for you to right now to request a miracle. I request a miracle. I request a miracle. The art of thought is the expression of that state of miracle readiness. The art of thought is the miracle. And so what is it that we need to dispel? What is it that we need to dispel? It says, along with dispelling the illusion of fear, we need to dispel the illusion of specificity. So what is the illusion we need to dispel? The illusion of fear and the illusion of specificity. Now, what does that mean? You haven't been asked to request a specific miracle. I'm not asking you to request a specific miracle, although your thoughts have naturally gone to consideration of the specific. This is just an indication that you are still in the habit of thinking you learned under the construction of your ego mind. Going straight to the specifics lets you know that you are still in the habit of thinking the way your ego mind has taught you to think. But what the Course of Love, this treatise, is trying to do is it's trying to change that habit. What habit? The habit of focusing specifically on something very specific. This treatise must change that habit in order for all your thoughts to become the miracles that express the truth of who you are. So what is this treatise? What is this Course of Love section that we're studying? What is it trying to do? It will put your instruction fully under the guidance of the voice for God inside of you and allow you to disregard the instruction of your ego mind. So what is the purpose? The purpose is to put your instruction fully under the guidance of your higher self and to allow you to disregard the instruction that's coming from your fear-based mind. So A Course of Love began with an injunction to pray. So this whole thing started with an injunction to pray. A Course in Miracles, what did A Course in Miracles begin with? A Course in Miracles began with a definition of miracles, but both are the same. Prayer and the art of thought are the same thing. Prayer and the art of thinking are the same thing. This should serve to make it clear that the request I have made of you is once again far more broad and far more generalizable than your old habit of thought has led you to see. In other words, miracles are, in other words, a way of thinking. So when we talk about a miracle, we're talking about a way of thinking. It's like if we think correctly, it's a miracle. So when we talk about a miracle, we're talking about a way of thinking, the new way that we're going to learn together. So what are we learning together? What we are learning together is a new way of thinking. What we are learning together, mighty companion, what we're learning together is a new way of thinking. They are the state of giving and receiving as one. We're learning how to give and receive as one. They are the state in which blessings flow. Miracles are a new way of thinking that allows blessings to flow into your life. A miracle is a new way of thinking that allows blessings to flow into your life. Miracles are your natural state. So what does that mean? It means that when you are in your natural state, miracles just flow into your life naturally. When you're in your natural state, love just flows into your life naturally. All of the things that we think we need to work so hard for somebody's love, to work so hard for abundance, to work so hard for happiness, those things just naturally flow into your life as you start to use a miraculous way of thinking. And a miraculous way of thinking is a new way of thinking. So how can the rules of thinking we have identified serve to bring about the miracle that you are? Well, the first means identified was that of experiencing what is and acknowledging what is both as a fact of your existence as a human being and as a gift of the Creator. So in other words, now that we have more properly identified the miracle, you must see that your real self is what is in need of identification. Your real self is what is in need of acknowledgement. Your real self is your spiritual self. Your real self needs to be acknowledged. Your real self needs to be identified. Your human self, your human identity is not your true self. Your human identity is not your ultimate real self. So this identification and acknowledgement, that was the stated goal of A Course of Love. The Course of Love is trying to identify and get us to identify and acknowledge our true identity. Your true identity is love. Your true identity is that of a loving being. Your true identity is that of a loving being. So it does not negate your existence as a human being. We're not trying to deny the existence of yourself as a human being. The miracle, the Course of Love, does not negate your existence as a human being, nor does it deny your existence as being a gift of the Creator. Your very existence is a gift of God. Your very existence is a gift of God. Recall the sunset. Are you any less the glory of God than the sun? Is the sun any more representative of the glory of God than you are? Do you look at sunsets and beautiful mountains and trees, and do you look at the beauty of this world and you in awe of the beauty in this world, and somehow you don't think that you are just as glorious? You are just as glorious as the thing that turns you on the most in this world. This is a call right now. What kind of call am I giving you right now? This is a call right now to be as aware of yourself as you are capable of being aware of the sunset. It is time for you to be just as aware of yourself as you are capable of being aware of a sunset or a rainbow. When the sun has remained but an object to you, no effect is possible from the sunset. If you look at a sunset and you don't think anything about it, it just looks like there's this bright object in the sky, then it's not possible for the sunset to have any kind of a real healing effect on you. If you look at yourself and you don't feel like you're seeing the glory of God, a gift of God in existence, which is what you are, then who your true being is, it's not really having a real effect on you. When the sun has remained but an object to you, when you are just an object to you, then you don't get a chance to experience the full power of the beautiful effect of who and what you are. The sun, it says, even during the most blazing sunset, the sun has at times remained no more than object to you. That's also true about yourself. When yourself is seen as no more than a body, if you see yourself as no more than a body, then you are seen as little more than an object. If you just see yourself as a body, you're just seeing yourself as an object. You're not getting in touch with the glory that you truly are if you just see yourself as a body. So the second rule of the art of thought, the second rule, what is the second rule of the art of right thinking? The second rule of the art of right thinking, and what did it say earlier? It said that a miracle was a way of thinking. So the second rule of the art of thought is a miraculous way of thinking, is to acknowledge relationship, acknowledge the call for a response, acknowledge the nature of all gifts as being given to all. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say everyone and everything deserves the love of the Creator. All of us, everything and everybody deserves the gifts of God equally. Everything and everybody. If you are using right thinking, you will know that all of us deserve love equally. All of us are equally glorious. All of us are equally powerful. So if you are a person that's thinking correctly, you would be a person who recognizes that all of us have access to the same gifts, love. All of us have access to the same abilities. All of us have access to all of the same glory. All of us equally deserve love. That's the second rule of thought. So the second rule in the art of thought, it says, is a call to realize that you exist in relationship, that your relationship calls for a response, and that you are given to all as all are given to you. Everything is given to you. You are given to everything. Everything is given to you, and you are given to everything. Now, I know this is an enormous shift in your habit of thinking. I know that this is an enormous shift in your habit of thinking as you become the center of the universe. You are the center of the universe. You are the center of the universe. Who is the center of the universe? You are the center of the universe. So now I'm going to tell you how your ego looks at it. Now I'm going to tell you how the part of your mind that doesn't know the truth looks at what I'm talking about. Listen very carefully. It says this is quite a different you than the self of the ego mind. The ego mind, in its imitation of creation, the ego mind put you of the ego, you of the body, at the center of its thought system, and from this central position of you thinking of yourself as a body, your ego developed all of its ideas of glorifying the separated self as well as of subjugating the separated self. What does that mean? It means this subjugation to the ego mind, this subjugation to the fear-based mind is what led to the ego mind being able to develop the laws of man. What are the laws of man? These laws of man are the laws of the body's survival. A person who has lost awareness, a person who has lost awareness of their spiritual identity, a person who has lost awareness of their true identity are only concerned primarily with the survival of the body. An asleep being, a person that is out of touch with their true spiritual nature, is a person that's only concerned with the laws of survival. So a person that's only concerned with the laws of survival, that's a person that is ruled by the idea that they are separate from God, separate from love, and separate from everything else. The Course of Love says your responsibilities shift completely under the laws of God. Under the laws of love, your responsibilities shift totally. You have totally new responsibilities under the laws of love. What does that mean that you have totally different responsibilities under the laws of love? Your thoughts are released. What are your thoughts released from? From their concentration on what exists outside of you. As you shift your awareness to the laws of God, the laws of truth, the laws of love, it means that you are no longer going to concentrate on what exists outside of you, as your responsibility is going to be placed where your responsibility belongs. Where does your responsibility belong? Your responsibility belongs in the call to respond. This response is only yours to give, and this response is all you are asked to give. This new response is going to come from your true self, the rightly identified and acknowledged self. Okay, so what does that mean? What it means is, what I'm asking you to do is think of all you now feel responsible for. Think of everything that you feel responsible for right now. Think of everything you feel responsible for right now. And this lesson will become a lot more clear. Think about what you feel responsible for. Think about what you feel responsible for right now. While your first thoughts would automatically go to a lengthy list of those concerns that are associated with the survival of your body. You probably went immediately, when I said think about what you are responsible for, it's a possibility that you went immediately to a long list of things that you need to be responsible for as a human being in the physical world. They will miss a whole aspect of concerns associated with keeping others other. You keep others other. How do you keep others other than you? By attempting to respond to others rather than respond. You attempt to respond for others rather than responding to others. Okay, I keep people separate from me by attempting to respond for them rather than responding to them. Okay, so what does that mean? That means you thus have thought it is your responsibility to care for the world outside of yourself rather than yourself. You think that it's your responsibility to care for the world outside of yourself rather than for yourself. You have thought it is your responsibility to care for the world outside of yourself rather than for yourself. You have thought it is your responsibility to care for the world outside of yourself rather than for yourself. There is much play on the words response, responsible, and responsibility. There's a lot of play on the words response, responsibility, and responsible. This is no accident. Your call is to respond. What is your call? Your call is to respond, and you have seen this call incorrectly as the call to be responsible. You think your call to respond is the same as a call to be responsible. The idea of responsibility is an idea that sprang from your ego. The idea of responsibility sprang from the fear-based mind that wanted to usurp the power of God. What kind of gift, what kind of real gift arises with a demand for the receiver to be responsible for it? In other words, if I give you a puppy, is that really a gift if it arrives with a demand for you to be responsible for it? If you've given me a gift, but I end up being the one that's responsible for it, and I didn't ask for the gift, was that really a gift? If you give me a puppy, and now all of a sudden I've got to be responsible for a puppy, was that really a gift? Because now this gift is going to demand that I be responsible for it. You may answer that there are many, even within this course's definition of gift, the most obvious of which might be your children, another of which might be your talents. It is the idea of your responsibility for those gifts that has led to your oppression. So again, I'm telling you, your call is to respond rather than to be responsible. I'm calling you to respond rather than to be responsible. How can you be free to respond? How can you be free to respond when your thinking remains tied to responsibility? Now, keep in mind that everything that I'm bringing up, this section is going to explain exactly what it means by what it's saying. So rather than getting caught up in trying to figure out what you're hearing, open your mind up, take a breath, pause, still that part of your mind that wants to figure this out, and say to yourself, I'm willing to breathe and listen. I'm willing to breathe and listen. I recognize that the divine mind that's behind this material knows that I'm going to have many questions, and there are going to be many things that come up as I hear this, that there's going to be some confusion maybe that's going to come up as I hear this. And if I'm willing to just breathe and listen, breathe and open my mind, then the questions that I'm asking are going to be answered. So just for a minute, remember, we're in a course of love. It's a course that's based on the heart. It's a course that's based on receiving and feeling. So still the analytical mind, if you can, still your analytical mind and let yourself hear and listen. And as we continue to go through this, you're going to find that your mind begins to open and still, and you will begin to actually hear what's being said. Because what this is saying to us is very threatening to our ego, to our old concepts of ourselves, to the image of ourselves that we think we already have. So it's going to bring up defenses. It's going to bring up some contraction and resistance, because much of what's being said is probably very different than the way that you have accepted that the truth is and how it operates. So when we say responsibility, it just implies that a guardianship. It implies that there's a guardianship that's not needed. Responsibility implies needs that would not be met without you. When you say you're responsible, that means you think there's this need that must be taken care of, because if you don't take care of it, that need isn't going to be taken care of. But when we talk about response, we're talking about something that's given and something that's genuine. Response is a natural act of giving and receiving as one. When you are dealing with responsibility, that's a demanded response. If you're responsible for something, then you've got to respond to it. It's a necessary response. It's an obligation, in other words. The way that we see responsibility is that this is an obligation that I've got to take care of. But a response, which is what you're being asked for now, you're being asked for a response. A response happens from within. A response is something that you do from within. Responsibility is all about dealing with the outside world. So when we talk about responsibility, we're talking about dealing with the outside world. That's coming from your ego mind. That's coming from your fear-based mind. While both response and responsibility might result in the same or similar actions, does not negate the need for the difference between the two to be realized. Let me give you an example. Charity is a responsibility, but love is a response. Do you know that love is a response? Charity can feel like a responsibility. Don't you see the difference? Can a father not be guided by responsibility and still fail to give love? Aren't there many instances where people have had, let's say, your father was not really into, let's say a father was not really into their family, a father that really wasn't enjoying being a father, but yet that father did live up to their responsibilities. They did go out and work, and they did bring home money to take care of their children. Well, that's a father that is taking care of responsibilities, but that may not necessarily be a father who is responding with love. So love is a response, where responsibility is an obligation. Can a dancer not struggle mightily to perfect her talent without experiencing the joy of the expression of that talent? You know, couldn't someone learn how to dance and go to practice every day and practice for hours because they feel like it's their responsibility to learn how to dance and to be the best dancer they can be, while at the same time they're not truly enjoying the experience of dancing at all? So again, responsibility can be an obligation, but love is a response. So when we're talking about love, we're talking about the way that you respond. When we're talking about joy, and we're talking about happiness, and we're talking about satisfaction, we're talking about response. Do you think the Creator is responsible for what was created? Do you think that God is responsible for what God created? Do you believe that your Creator is responsible for you? Do you believe your Creator is responsible for what it created? To think of the Creator in this way is to think of the Creator with an upside down thinking of the fear-based mind. Is this not the kind of thinking that has caused you to blame God for what you have labeled bad, as well as to praise God for what you have labeled good? Would not this kind of a Creator be at odds with the concept of free will? But a Creator not to respond, for a Creator not to respond to what has been created, this would indeed be a travesty. This would be antithetical to the laws of creation. This would be antithetical. For God not to respond to you would be antithetical to love. So what is my request to you? What is my request to you? My request to you is to choose a miracle. My request to you to choose a miracle. What kind of a request is that? If I request you to choose a miracle, I'm requesting you to hear creation's response to who you are. If you ask for a miracle, you are giving creation an opportunity to respond to who you are. You want life to respond to who you are. So what might such a response sound like? What might such a response from creation sound like? What would a response from God feel like? What would a direct response from creation look like? What would a true response from love, what would a true response from creation, what would it sound like? What would it look like? What would it feel like? Well, a true response from creation, a true response from God is a response of pure appreciation. And pure appreciation is pure love. Do you know that another word for love is appreciation? Full appreciation, total appreciation. So when you say you love something, it's a response of appreciation. It's not a response of obligation. It's not a response of making demands. It's not a response that's full of scripts. It's not a response that you do out of some sense of obligation. A response of love is a response of complete, total appreciation. If I love you, if I'm truly responding with love to you, I am not making demands. I'm not making you feel obligated. I'm not coming up with 1,000 scripts. I'm not coming up with a lot of responsibilities that you've got to do for me. That is not love. Love's response is a response of total appreciation. That response is always available. Why do you think people become uneasy when you tell them that you love them? Or why do you become uneasy when someone says, I love you, I'm falling in love with you? Because we have learned the incorrect perception of love. We know that that usually means I have a lot of scripts for you, and I have a lot of things that I want you to do for me to show me that you love me and that I love you. So sometimes when we hear the words, I love you, it makes us contract because of the way we've experienced love in the past as being demands and expectations and scripts. Love is a response. Love is a response of total and complete appreciation. So for me to say to you, I love you, is for me to tell you I totally appreciate you. It's the gift given in everything you look upon and see without the obstacle of your ego's, mind's interpretation. Love is what you see when you're not using your fear to interpret what's going on. Love is what you see when you're not using any parts of guilt in your mind to interpret what's going on. Love is what you see when there's no anger in your interpretations of what you see. So let's talk a minute. Let's talk a minute about this interpretation. Let us speak a moment of this interpretation. We're in paragraph 17, chapter 4. Paragraph 17, chapter 4, the center of the universe. Let us speak a moment of this interpretation. Like Kathy says, I don't need to understand. Startle me. Kathy says, choose to hear creation's response to who you are, Kathy, and is pure, double, triple X rated appreciation. I'm loving you because I'm appreciating you, Earl. Because I'm teaching what I need to learn. And mighty companion, we're learning this together. We're learning this together. We're learning the difference between responsibility, which can be very fear-based, because it makes us think that we have to take care of things outside of ourselves, whether we enjoy it or not. And we're learning the difference between responsibility and response. And response is coming from within, and it's coming from a place of total appreciation and joy. Let us speak a moment of this interpretation, that each of you, listen to this, it says, each of you interprets what you see, you interpret what you read, you interpret what you hear, you interpret what you smell, and you interpret what you touch differently. Must mean something. In other words, what you have decided that this means is that you are an independent thinker. What? Okay, so you think you are an independent thinker because you interpret everything differently. And you see yourself as an independent thinker, which you think is something that you should really, really prize. Some of you will accept another's interpretation of meaning if it's helpful to you. You may interpret somebody else's interpretations if it saves you time, or you may accept somebody else's interpretations if it seems like it's in accord with your own viewpoint. Others of you feel it necessary to interpret everything on your own. Some of you feel like you have to give everything its meaning on your own. Without further discussion, you would see interpretation and response quite similarly, and this would only lead to a continuation of the belief in different forms of truth. There is no such thing as you have your truth and I have my truth. There is no such thing as different forms. There is no such thing as different truths. There's one truth, but there are many different ways to approach it and realize it. There aren't different forms of the truth itself. There is the one, whatever this is, and then we have all of our individual ways of interpreting it. So the art of thought is being taught here in order to prevent just such a conclusion that there are different forms of truth and everyone has their truth. No, the truth is not different for everyone. Everyone just has their own interpretations of the truth. Whatever the truth is, it's the same for everyone. But we all have different perceptions and different meanings that we give to everything we see and experience. So when you say I have my own truth, you are really saying I have my own interpretations. I have my own judgments. I have my own opinions. I have my own meanings that I'm giving to everything. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. So what does that mean when I say the truth is the truth? The truth doesn't depend on your definition of it. The truth doesn't depend on your understanding of it. Something is not true or not true just because you don't believe it, Earl. Just because you don't believe something or agree with something doesn't mean it's not the truth. Just because it's not your point of view, just because it's not your interpretation, doesn't mean that it isn't true. Something can be true and you don't agree with it at all. Something can be true and you can have a totally different perspective about it. Your understanding, you are not the one who is the arbiter of what's true. So the truth is true and is not dependent on your definition of it, but a response is not an interpretation. A response is not a judgment. A response is not an interpretation. So what is a true response? What is a true response? A response is an expression of who you are. A response comes from an expression of your authentic self. A true response is coming from within. A true response is coming from your authentic self. A response is an expression of who you are rather than of what you believe something else to be. You who have thought that your interpretation of events, you who have thought that your interpretations of feelings have given them their meaning, you need to think about that again. Things don't mean what you necessarily make things up to mean. Things don't necessarily mean what you believe they mean. Think about that. Their meaning already exists, and the true meaning of things are not up to you to determine, Earl. Things have a true meaning. Everything has a true meaning. Everything has a true value. But it's not up to you to determine what that meaning is. And it is not up to you to determine what that value is. That's not your responsibility. I have a meaning. I have value. I have existence. And it's not up to you to determine who I am or what I am. You're not the one. that gives me meaning. No one else can give you meaning. So many people form special love relationships because they're looking for the other person to give them value, to give them meaning, to show them that they are really important. No person can give you meaning. No person can determine who you are and what your value is. It's not up to you to determine what the meaning of everything is. You have been taught, you who have thought that your interpretation of situations and the feelings they have aroused have defined who you are. Think again. Think again. So what must you be willing to do? What must you be willing to do to allow the miracle, to allow the blessing, to keep your interpretations and judgments from blocking your happiness? The only thing that's blocking your happiness, Earl, is just your interpretations and judgments. The meanings that you're giving to everything is determining how you feel. The interpretations that you are giving to everything is determining how you feel. The meaning that you are giving, the meanings you are giving to everything is determining how you feel and how happy you are. So therefore, be willing to apply the art of thought, the art of the new way of thinking, rather than the old way of thinking, which comes from your fear-based ego mind. Interpretation just gives you opinions about things that you experience. So an interpretation is an opinion. Your interpretation of something is your opinion about something. Substitute the word opinion for the word interpretation, and all of a sudden you will have a much more accurate perception of what you're seeing. When you look at me and you give me an interpretation, if you're listening to me right now and you're full of judgments about what I'm saying, what you are saying is, I'm listening to Earl and I have a story about what I'm seeing. And that story about Earl is what I call my interpretation or my opinion or my judgment. So you're just seeing your opinions and your interpretations and your judgments. You are seeing only your opinions, your interpretations, and your judgments. What you are perceiving in your physical world, you are just perceiving your opinions, your judgments, and your interpretations. That has nothing to do with the truth about anything you're looking at. That doesn't have your opinions and your judgments and your interpretations have nothing to do with the truth of anything. Everything is just beyond your interpretations, your judgments, and your meanings. It's very important to hear what I'm saying if you ever want to have happiness and peace of mind. There is reality. There is what is. And what is has its own intrinsic value and meaning. And that intrinsic value and meaning was given by that which created it, God. Your opinions, your judgments, your meanings, and your evaluations do not determine the truth about anything or anybody. But your interpretations, your meanings, and your judgments are determining the way that you feel about it all. The way you feel today, the way you feel right now, the way you are feeling right now, that's coming from your interpretations, your opinions, your meanings, and your judgments that you're putting on everything and everybody in your perception. That is the secret to happiness. The secret to happiness is in knowing that. The wrong mind, the ego mind, the part of the mind that doesn't know the truth, it will always tell you that your happiness is dependent on something outside of you and that you have to change something outside of you, that somebody or something has to be different outside of you before you can be happy. That is the way to guarantee that you will never have permanent joy. You can never have permanent joy as long as you believe that everything and everybody around you must somehow change and be different in order for you to be happy. That is your taking false responsibility. That is false responsibility. Your desire to feel like it's your obligation to change somebody or to change something outside of you. That's your obligation. That's your sense of responsibility. You are responsible for changing everything and everybody. That is false ego responsibility. What's really being called for is response, a response from within. So response reveals the truth to you, and response reveals the truth of you. So how you respond is revealing the truth to you, and how you respond is revealing the truth of you. Woo! My goodness. Okay, let's take a breath. Earl, do you hear this? Earl, remember this. Earl, remember this. The next time you're feeling unhappy about anything, remember that you're taking false responsibility, which means that you think you're responsible for interpreting and judging and giving meaning to everything and everybody around you. You're taking false responsibility. You think you need to change everything outside of you in order for you to be happy, and you feel like that's your obligation, that's your responsibility. Then you are fear-based. You are coming out of your ego, and that attitude will keep you from having the miracles that you're requesting and the blessings that you are requesting from coming into your life. And according to A Course of Love, that is also true about you too, mighty companion, if you're doing the same thing. So the joy you have thought has come to you from an interpretation that's uniquely your own interpretation. Is nothing compared to the joy that will come to you from a response that is uniquely you. What I need to see is the you that is uniquely you. What I don't need is your interpretations of everything and your opinions about everything and your judgments about everything. What I need is a response from you, from the real you, that is uniquely you, without the judgments, without the opinions, without the interpretations. You must give up your penchant for interpretation. You have to give up your desire to try to judge and interpret and give your personal opinion and meaning to everything that you see if you want to learn how to truly respond from a place that is true power, that is true love, that is true freedom. I realize that this will concern you while you continue to not realize the difference between response and responsibility. I know this may cause some confusion. The only way for this concern to have the chance to leave you is for you to begin to practice. If you want your confusion to leave you, you must begin to practice the art of thought, the art of thinking in a new way. And the Course of Love is giving you a new way of thinking. A Course in Miracles gives you a new way of thinking. The Way of Mastery gives you a new way of thinking. There are countless wisdom texts that gives you a new way of thinking. That's how you're going to learn the difference between thinking as an art, which is a way of thinking that produces miracles, and then thinking the way that you have been taught to think by the world, which makes you feel like you have to judge everything and that nothing can be anything but the way that you have determined that it is. If you're unhappy, if you are angry, if you are upset, your interpretations of the situation is incorrect according to this. I know that's going to bring up resistance. I know that's going to bring up some yes, but, what are you trying to say to me? I will say it again. Your reaction to the truth does not affect the truth of something. The truth is, if you are perceiving correctly, if you're perceiving from a place that's coming from love, if you are using a truly miraculous way of looking at things, the outcome will be peace. With understanding comes peace. When you truly understand something, when you correctly understand something, you will feel more peace. If you are not feeling more peace, you do not have understanding. Peace and understanding go together. Where one is, the other must be. If you have peace, you have understanding. If you have understanding, you have inner peace. If you're full of conflict, if you're full of grievances, if you're full of fear, your understanding is not there. True understanding of the situation is not there. As was already stated, the first opportunities for you to learn the art of thought will be provided through what we have called the re-experiencing of memory. These are opportunities for you to re-experience the lessons that life has brought you. You will experience the same lessons. You would have the same lessons in the same way rather than in a new way. You will experience the same lessons in the same way rather than a new way. You don't want to meet the same lessons in the same old way. You want to meet any new lessons in a new way. If you meet these experiences again with the attitude of interpreting these experiences the next time they come around, rather than responding to these new lessons, then you're going to continue the same old pattern. If you have a new relationship, let's say, and you see the same pattern beginning to show up in that relationship, and if you start to interpret that relationship the same way you've interpreted all of your relationships in the past, for instance, then you're meeting the same lesson in the same way. If you meet the same lesson with the same opinions, with the same interpretations, with the same meanings, then you will not go beyond that lesson. So there is a new way that you must respond now to the same old lessons coming around again. The same patterns and lessons coming back to you do not require your interpretations. What these same old lessons and patterns coming around one more time, what they need is a new response. Everything needs a new response. Response was what was required in the first place, was you needed a new response. You needed a different response to that situation that come up again. You need a new response to that pattern that's coming up again. Your inability to respond is not something that you keep on, you do not need to keep on not responding in a new way. So what do I mean by this? Okay, just go to the present moment and listen to what I'm saying right now from A Course of Love. You are being revisited with these lessons. These same old lessons are coming back around expressly for the purpose of not repeating your former reaction or interpretation of them. These patterns in your relationships, in your finances, in your spirituality, in every area of your life, these lessons will keep coming around until you do not use the same interpretations of those situations that you have used in the past. These patterns, these lessons in your life, Earl, will continue to repeat themselves until you stop repeating your old ways of responding, until you stop using your same old ways of looking at it. Do you know why you are being revisited with the same lessons over and over again? So that you may apply to these lessons the art of right thinking rather than the thinking of your old way of looking at things, the thinking of your ego mind. You're going to have the same patterns in your relationships. You're going to have the same patterns in every area of your life. The lessons are going to keep coming around over and over again until you do what? Stop using the interpretations of them that you have learned and that you have given yourself in the past, until you stop repeating your old ways of looking at the situation or circumstance. It's going to keep coming around. The art of thinking right, the art of thought that you're learning through A Course of Love, it will reveal the truth to you. Miraculous thinking is just thinking that is based on love, thinking that is based on responding rather than judging. You want to respond to these situations and lessons rather than judging, using your opinions, using your old interpretations. You know that now it's coming back. This pattern in my relationship is coming back around again. Why is this pattern in my relationship coming back around again? So that I won't use the same meanings and interpretations and opinions and judgments of it that I have used in the past. If I believe all men are no good, and that is my interpretation of men, so I continue to have the same lessons show up in men all the time. That's because I have got to stop using my interpretations and meanings from the past about men. I have to learn how to respond to men. Respond from a place that is authentic within the love within my being. I have to be really willing to let go of my judgments and my interpretations based on the past. The thinking of the ego mind would simply reinterpret the meaning that you previously gave to these lessons or situations. So your ego is always going to use the same old lines, the same old meanings, the same old judgments that it's always used whenever this lesson or pattern comes back around again. So the ego is going to say, if this were different, I would be happy. If they were different, I would be happy. If this were different, I would be happy. If they were different, I would be happy. If they would just change, I would be happy. If they would just change, I would be happy. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. They're doing something to me. They're doing something to me. The interpretation is that I'm a victim. My interpretation is I'm a victim. My interpretation is that this person, this situation, this circumstance is being done to me. My interpretation from my ego, from my fear, from my wrong-mindedness, is that the problem is something outside of my mind. The problem is something outside of me. The problem is something outside of my mind. And those patterns, those lessons are going to continue to come around over and over and over and over and over until you stop using the same old interpretations and meanings from the past, Earl, that you have used in those same situations. And the same thing is true for you, mighty companion. Now, I know this is a very sticky distinction that I'm making. You are used to congratulating yourself on the maturity required to interpret previous lessons. In other words, I congratulate myself because now I'm having the same thing come around again, and I know that I feel like my interpretations are right. To form a new opinion about something gives you a feeling of open-mindedness and growth. Lay aside your desire. Lay aside what desire? Lay aside your desire for reasons for self-congratulation in favor of self-revelation. Instead of focusing on congratulating yourself for being right, it's much more important to have self-revelation rather than self-congratulation. The saying, the truth shall be revealed to you. The saying, the truth shall be revealed to you, is the same as saying your real self is going to be revealed to you. When I say the truth is going to be revealed to you, I am saying that your real self is going to be revealed to you. Your true self is going to be revealed to you. Your loving self is going to be revealed to you. Revelation. Revelation. What is revelation? What is revelation? Revelation is a proper description. Revelation is a proper description of the mode by which the art of thought teaches and helps you learn. It is not through study. It is not through effort. It is not through just reinterpretation, but you are going to learn a new way of looking at things through revelation. The new way of you coming to know things, it's not going to be through study. It's not going to be through effort. It's going to be through revelation. Things are going to be revealed to you. You are studying this so that all the blocks to revelation can be released in you. Revelation means it's going to be revealed to you. The truth about every situation in your life is going to be revealed to you. Things are going to be revealed to you. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to judge it. You don't have to try to come up with your opinions and your meanings. As you correct your way of thinking, through the use of A Course of Love, you're going to find that things are just going to be revealed to you. The truth is going to be revealed to you. Revelation is direct communication with God. Revelation is direct communication with your Creator. Revelation is you being in direct communication with your Creator. Revelation is a direct communication from a self that you don't know. You're going to start to receive direct communication from a greater self that you don't know. That self in you that's one with the Creator. You're about to have direct communication with God. It's direct communication with a self in you that you don't know, a self in you that is one with God. Revelation is direct communication. So we have to backtrack a little right now. We're going to backtrack a little right now. Okay. We have to backtrack a little here to do the same exposition that we did in regard to miracles, in regard to revelation. In other words, by asking you to choose a miracle, you were provided a means through which your fears became clear to you. When I told you to ask for a miracle, you probably came up with all the reasons why you would have any kind of fear or resistance to doing that. It says there are a few of you who would deny these fears. Fewer still are unafraid of miracles and eager to embrace miracles. As you may have surmised, we are getting at your final fears now, those most deeply buried and kept in secret from you. Some of you who would count yourselves least fearful are those of you whose fears are most deeply buried, are the ones who say you are the least fearful, are usually the ones whose fears are most deeply buried. So whether you count yourself among those who are afraid or not, please continue to give me your attention even if you think you're not afraid. Just a little while longer as we uncover everything that would still hold you back. Okay, we're going to uncover everything that would still hold you back. As was said within A Course of Love, all fear is just doubt about yourself. All fear is doubt about yourself. Now we need to expand on that thought that all fear is doubt about yourself, because doubt about yourself is doubt about God. Do you know that doubt about yourself is doubt about God? While God is nothing but the source of love. God is nothing but the source of love. You have in your doubt made God the source of fear instead of the source of love. So pause a minute, pause a moment, and let the enormity of this confusion sink in. For this is the reversal in thinking that will pave the way for the rest. You have changed God from a God of love, Earl, to a God of fear. You've changed the universe from being a universe that's totally loving to a universe that is possible for you to fear in and to be hurt in. Because of this confusion that you have about God, because of this confusion that you have about the universe, you have responded to creation with fear. Is it no wonder that a new response is being asked of you? There is fear, there is doubt, so there's need for a new response now. In the translations of the Bible and many other religious texts, the word or idea of awe has been confused with the word or idea of fear. A Course in Miracles told you that awe, A-W-E, awe is in the providence of God, and awe is not due miracles or any other thing or being. You are not to be in awe of anybody. You are not to be in awe of anybody. I bring up this point to assure you that this confusion is nothing new, but a confusion so deeply ingrained in you that it has become an aspect of yourself as a human being. From time immemorial, there has always been the association of fear with God. Do not fear God. Do not fear God. Do not fear God. Do not fear God. There is no fear in God. There is nothing to fear about God. There is no punishing God. There is no fearful God. There is no such thing as a God of fear. There is no such thing as a punishing God. There is no such thing as a God that condemns. There is no such thing as a God that punishes and hurts. There is no such thing as a frightening, fearful God. God never hurts. God never harms. God never punishes. Love never hurts. Love never harms. Love never punishes. Love never condemns. There is nothing frightening about love. There is nothing limiting about love. There is nothing guilty about love. There is no anger in love. There is no guilt in God, and there is no guilt in love. That was the kind of thinking that Jesus came here to reverse. That thinking that God or the Creator should be associated with anything frightening. While Jesus succeeded in revealing a God of love, a person who studies the Bible will kind of get that even with the distortions that are in the traditional Bible, the message of the Gospels and the message of Jesus was always ultimately a message of love and a message that there is a God of love and that our Creator is love. And this revelation has not been reconciled with your experience here. I know it's hard to believe that there can only be a benevolent God sometimes when we look at the things that seem to be happening in our world and in our perception. That sometimes that makes it hard to believe that there is even a God. And if there is a God, it makes it hard to believe that there could only be a loving Creator of God. But what we heard tonight is that what we are responding to is not God. We're responding to our interpretation of God. We're responding to our judgment of God. We are responding to our opinions of God. You are responding to your opinion of God. You are responding to the meaning you have given God. You are responding to the meaning you have given Jesus. You are responding to your meanings. You are responding to your interpretations. You are responding to your own judgments, but not to the truth. That's what we were being told tonight, that you are always responding to your interpretations, not to necessarily to the truth. So it says, while I succeeded in revealing a God of love, this revelation has not been reconciled with your experience here. This is what we will now seek to do. How are we going to reconcile all of this? By putting an end to fear. We're going to the course of love is going to show you how to put an end to fear, and ushering in with this ending of your fear will become, what will come next is the beginning of a time of miracles. When your fear is ended, when your judgment is ended, when the false interpretations and meanings that you are giving everything are ended, that will be the beginning of a time of miracles for you. Woo, that was really deep. That was powerful. I have to listen to that over and over again. I've got to watch this over. Earl, you got to watch this video over and over again, because you need to remember this. You need to hear this. You need to remember this. You need to hear this. You need to end all association of God and reality and truth with any form of fear, any form of judgment. Absolutely. Abso-friggin-loosely. We're going to do a quick completion. And thank you for all of the comments and the sharing that you have done, because as I'm channeling this through me, I get a chance to see your comments and see your opinions and what you are sharing and what you are realizing. Thank you for supporting my teaching ministry. I'm Earl Purdy. Thank you for supporting my teaching ministry. I really want to especially thank those of you who share financial expressions of appreciation, as this is what I do in the world full time. This is my calling. So thank you. Thank you for seeing value enough to support it in a financial way, as well as every other way you appreciate it. So I appreciate you regardless of what you give or do not give at a material level. But I do want to thank those of you who do share financially, because it allows me to continue to do this, because God takes care of us through each other. Also, if you would like to make a financial expression of appreciation, go to earlpurdy.com, www.earlpurdy.com. I also want to tell you that the music is my good friend John Christmas. And if you would like to get the music, go to johnchristmas.com. And if you want to know more about A Course of Love, go to www.acourseoflove.org, O-R-G, and you will learn more about A Course of Love. I am available. Make the decision to talk to me and have a one-on-one session with me. For over 30 years, I have been working with people to help them remove the blocks to experiencing the love and the peace that they really want to experience from within. And so I'm available for what I call clarity sessions. And for those who are open-minded to more intuitive, psychic information coming through to them, I also use my knowledge of astrology and numerology. Those are very powerful divine sciences and arts also. I want you to know that you are love. You are authentic. You are innocent. And it's about response. It's about response rather than just focusing in on responsibility. It's about response rather than just focusing in on responsibility. Trisha, you're welcome. Now take a breath and let yourself hear John right now.
I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. I'm not a victim of my mom. I'm not a victim of my pa. I'm not a victim of events or circumstance at all. I'm not a victim.
Tell yourself
Of the world I see, I'm not a victim of the world I see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me.
Tell yourself.
I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last. I'm not a victim
Tell yourself
of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me.
God is love, God is love, God is love.
I'm not a victim
I'm not a victim
of the world I see. I'm not a victim
I'm not a victim
of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see.
God is love and God is not fear. 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 Remember that, mighty companions.
I'm not a victim of the North, I'm not a victim of the South, not a victim of anything except what comes out my mouth. I'm not a victim
Not a victim
of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me.
Now tell yourself,
Help me out now.
I'm not a victim
Of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see.
I give everything I see, all the meaning it has for me. I give everything I see, all the meaning it has for me. I give everything I see, all the meaning it has for me. I give everything I see, all the meaning that it has for me. I give everything I see, all the meaning that it has for me.
I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me.
Oh yeah, mighty companions, thank you for being here live. Thank you for being here and listen to this over and over again. You're such a blessing. I love you. I feel you. Share this video. You are a blessing. That is my response to you. I totally appreciate you. Completely appreciate you. Mwah. I love you.